Bienvenue à toutes et à tous. Welcome to this session from Radware. So, my name is Samuel Tawil. I'm heading the Radware affiliate in France and Benelux. I welcome you all today, and we're very, very honored to have in duplex Victor Zhora, who you see in front of you. Victor, really honored and grateful to have you with us today. Thanks, everyone. So as you can see the setup, Victor is looking at us from the camera and behind here, and you see him in front. So we have kind of, we're trying to make it as interactive as possible today. I think Victor would have liked to come to Monaco. He told me a number of times he wanted to come, but because of the war, we decided to have it in a duplex session like this. So welcome, Victor, and thank you for being with us today. And the theme of the session today is lessons learned from almost now 2 years of war and cyber war with Victor himself, who I will let him present his role right away, who will be able to, I'm sure, give us a lot of lessons learned that can help us with potentially the same malicious actors that we are fighting here in France and in Europe. So Victor, welcome. Maybe first thing I'll ask you is to present yourself, your role within the ministry and what you do. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Samek, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be in Monaco, at least virtually, and many thanks for having me on this session. I'm the Deputy Chairman of the State Service of Special Communications and Information Protection of Ukraine. I'm in charge of digitalization and of cybersecurity projects. I oversee the activities of the National Incident Response Team Sécurité and the State Cyber Protection Center. So the role of our organization is rather serious in the national cybersecurity system. We are a regulator in the cyber protection sphere. We're also responsible for more than 100 functions, including providing secure communications to country leaders, transmitting of TV and radio signal, being responsible for protection of critical infrastructure. But in terms of the regulator in information security and cybersecurity, we are similar to ANSI. So it's a broad scope of responsibilities, and of course, with our capabilities, our systems, and our infrastructures that we built prior to the full-scale invasion to Ukraine, and also we're strengthening for all this 1 year and a half. We are on the front line of countering cyber aggression against our country.
Thank you, Victor. And maybe this is a good transition because you mentioned that you have been building capabilities even before the invasion. Maybe just tell the audience here a little bit about your relationship with Radware, how it starts and how the collaboration has been going, just to set the scene for the next questions.
Absolutely. We used our domestic resources. We also were assisted by a number of international technical assistance projects, and we started building some capacities for cybersecurity in our service, in the State Cyber Protection Center. And one of these capacities is actually the DDoS cleansing center. So we started the project with Radware in 2021. And this project helped us to get prepared to the upcoming aggression, upcoming war, which includes the full-scale component of cyber warfare. But in the very beginning of 2022, we started facing huge DDoS attacks, and we understood that maybe our solutions on the ground were insufficient to cope with attacks with a volume of more than half of terabits. On 15th of February, for instance, 2022, the financial system of Ukraine was attacked, and two major Ukrainian banks were suffering from these attacks. And later on, with the beginning of the invasion in the first days, and after this, we were constantly facing huge DDoS attacks on our infrastructure. So we asked our partner Radware to help us with the cloud services, and that became possible. Now we are using the hybrid solution, both ground and both cloud services from Radware, in order to effectively counter these cyber attacks. And maybe on the next slides, we will go through the timeline of these attacks, which are really challenging for our government, for public sector, and also for private companies.
Yeah, I'll move into the slides. That's a good transition. You know, the audience here is very familiar with the actions on the ground, the real war. We know that there's a cyber war happening in the background. You started talking about it from the big attack in February, the banks, etc. Maybe tell us about the sectors that we will show a few slides. Some of these are statistics that Radware gathered related to so we will comment them. Just for you to know, we will also, within part of this session, describe some technical evolutions that we saw on the ground in Ukraine related to this attack. So the session is going to be rich, and I know the time is limited, and I know as well that you will want to ask a lot of questions. So we'll try to go through the important subjects quickly and leave enough time for the questions. What we see here is actually it is based on attacks claimed on Telegram channels. So we go to the hacker Telegram channels and we see a little bit of the business sectors and industry sectors. But this is important for us to understand, Victor. In a situation like this, what was hit first? What was the priority to protect? How did you manage the layers, the segmentation of the layers of your defense when there's an all-scale attack like this?
You can see these spikes, and these spikes sometimes exceed more than 400, 500 gigabits per second. These attacks are conducted by different state-associated groups, like No Name of 57, or a Cyber Army of Russia, or We Are Killnet, and other groups. These DDoS attacks are focused on web resources of Ukrainian banks, governmental entities, resources of Ukrainian private companies, huge logistics companies. So they are focused on our essential services. And of course, it's our responsibility and our duty to find the appropriate solution for countering of these attacks. And we are extremely grateful to Radware, who propose us the solutions that help us cope with those attacks. In terms of entire picture, our incident response team manually handled with more than 4,000 cyber incidents from the beginning of war. And of course, we consider DDoS attacks as a cyber incident when some service is unavailable because of these attacks. So generally, the number of DDoS attacks is much bigger on many organizations. But this is just a part of cyber aggression. We don't deal only with DDoS attacks. There are attempts to hack, to infect our organizations with Radware. There are attempts to execute data collection operations, cyber espionage, or to disrupt the infrastructures in case the attackers have this possibility. So this is done for major three purposes: disruption of services and infrastructures and data, cyber espionage, and also information operations, because sometimes, unfortunately, cyber attacks are combined with kinetic attacks, and they amplify the psychological effect of these kinetic attacks. And sometimes they are combined with kinetic attacks on critical infrastructure in order to identify which sort of attacks will be most efficient with regards to these facilities. Of course, kinetic attacks are much more destructive comparing to cyber attacks. But since these attempts are continuing, it means that the adversary is probing the lacks and vulnerabilities of our security systems, and in case they succeed, of course, the shortages of service will also play a huge role, particularly with regards to energy sector or other essential services. So this is ongoing. We see the shift of tactics of the aggressor from disruptive operations to cyber espionage. But despite all of this, DDoS attacks continue, and since these cases are widely highlighted in different Telegram channels of the groups that I mentioned, it's also used for information warfare, for influence operations. So you can see the March, but I mentioned earlier that these attacks started in February. So when we find out that it was rather difficult for us to ensure the effective protection for our web resources, then we asked Radware, and this is fixed, and this is registered with the use of additional services. So we can start the statistics from March 2022. So you see this volume which exceeded 400 gigabits per second, and then the next spike was in October and November, and this was correlated with the kinetic attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure, attacks with the use of cruise missiles and UAVs. So that was combined with this disruptive conventional attacks in order to first amplify and also to provide this psychological effect on the Ukrainian society. Then we see December, January, the active period of Christmas holidays, winter holidays, and we also observe the shift of tactics, which again brought us new challenges, technological. So it's not just about volumetric attacks. The shift of tactics was focused on using of attacks through HTTPS on the layer 7. So these advanced sophisticated attacks, which were a huge challenge for us, and we go together with Radware and other partners with these attacks, meant that the attackers proposed new techniques of attacking us, focusing on the application layer. So as you can see, again, from this diagram, we are facing these HTTPS flood attacks and also application flood attacks with more than 200,000 requests per second, which is really, really huge.
Yeah, Victor, I wanted to ask you this. The previous slide was basically 2022. So from the start of the invasion till the end of the year in the Christmas period. Then this slide shows since the beginning of this year, you know that Radware is also monitoring what is happening in all over the world, in the Western world, and so on. We have registered a shift, and I will explain this later to the audience here. The shift in the way attacks are happening, but I think it happened first in Ukraine. This is where we saw it first. In general, do you see a big difference between the 23 attacks and the 22 attacks? Of course, there is this subject, and just for the people who are sitting far, the blue spikes are the traditional volumetric DDoS attacks, and the yellow spikes coming through this year are what we call application flood attacks. So it's the new generation of attacks that Victor was referring to. So I really want to know if there's a big difference in the tactics by the attackers that you register in Ukraine in 23 compared to 22, this and beyond. How do you see this, Victor?
Yeah, we see that this difference, and as you just mentioned, the shift from volumetric to parametric attacks, and again, the brand new technology of attacking within HTTPS traffic, which is considered by most of systems to be absolutely legitimate. And this is an issue. We need to identify the malicious traffic from the overall volume of traffic, and then we need to clean it, to fix the picture. So that was a kind of challenge, as I mentioned, and we spent some days and weeks on fixing the problem, but we find the solution, and it's good that the vendor supported us with corresponding approaches.
Okay. Maybe I'll move to my next question, Victor. You see, many of the audience here are security professionals, CISOs, and so on. And we are trying to look for lessons that we can learn from your experience. We are, as you know very well, in the West, we are attacked by many of the same actors. You mentioned No Name. When we do the same statistics, the Telegram statistics for France, if we have time, I can show you the same statistics for our country, for France. No Name is by far the number one claiming attack actor in France as well, in terms of number of attacks claimed. So we're actually having the same challenges, and we would like to know what would be the lessons learned in terms of how you organized yourself, how you had this resiliency 1.5 years of suffering this type of attacks. What can we learn from that? What can you advise us?
Well, Sameh, you mentioned a very important aspect of the cyber warfare. It isn't only against Ukraine. It's this warfare is being conducted against all democratic world, and our partners in Europe, in North America, are under attack as well. For many years, Ukraine was the second most attacked country in cyberspace after the United States, and from the beginning of war in Ukraine, we were maybe dropped to the first place. But it doesn't mean that our allies are not at risk. Unfortunately, the cyber offensive units can be easily scale up to other territories, other countries, instead of regular troops that unlikely can be moved fast to the borders of other states. But in cybers, we don't have any borders, and we are facing this huge scalability and also a focus on attacking of any kind of institutions. So I can name attacks on hospitals and healthcare institutions in Canada, for instance, organizations in France, or for instance ISPs in other European countries. So the vast majority of cyber attacks, and we see this in Ukraine, is focused on the civilian infrastructure, on the private business. So everybody's under attack, everybody's facing risks, and this is the first lesson. So it's the adversary is attacking everybody, and that means that private sector should be aware of this risk, and therefore should be protected with the investment, with the awareness, with the training of people, with the investments to technologies, with the spreading of cyber hygiene rules, and also with cooperation, because the cooperation is a pillar to cyber resilience. And that was maybe one of the crucial points for Ukrainian cyber resilience, that we were supported by many partners around the globe, by our partner agencies from other countries, by volunteers who helped us to ensure this resistance, and by private companies who proposed us hardware, licenses, services, cloud environments, consultancy, and threat intelligence. So cooperation is in cybersecurity is really crucial, and in terms of decision making on any level of organization, we should be aware that that people know these risks very well in opening of different attachments and clicking to different links with the usage of their remote and web services with password policies, etc., etc. So these are basic things, but they should be in place, and CISOs should be focusing on these essential aspects of building up securities, right, infrastructures and system. But again, with this lessons sharing and knowledge transfer, it's important to remember also on reservation. Ukraine faced a lot of challenges with the data centers, and we currently propose these cloud services for our IT systems and registers and databases. So it allowed us to use these reserve capacities, backup capacities, and ensure the operability of services for Ukrainian citizens and businesses. So that should be done in advance, and the preparation is the key to success in challenging times of being attacked. In terms of trust, our approach was to start working closely with the private sector prior to war, and it brought some very very significant results, because from one point we were supported by many professionals who joined our service in the armed forces of Ukraine, helping us in cyber defense. So they are best experts from the community, and they are sharing their knowledge and experience with our servicemen. Those people who decided to stay in their private business, supporting their existing customers in their free time, help our organization voluntarily, particularly with incident response in private organizations, sometimes helping these organizations even build cybersecurity infrastructures from scratch. And also, as I mentioned earlier, there was huge assistance from the global community, especially in threat intelligence and information on threats, in indicators of compromise. So in many cases, we were able to promptly inform the potential victim and identify the threat and prevent major cyber incidents in the way that it happened, for instance, on April 8, 2022, a regional energy distribution company, where we prevented the potential power shortage that could affect more than 1 million people on the region. That means that state authorities responsible for cybersecurity in Ukraine, particularly the CCP, CERT-UA, are proposing assistance, help to all organizations who need this. We share our recommendations to citizens, to organizations through all available means of communication. And in terms of proposing services, our DDoS scrubbing center serves for critical infrastructure facilities or for government entities, and in case we will be able to scale them up, we will propose them also to private companies, because there is no difference between public and private sector in time of warfare. All of these organizations will be protected because when we're talking about sensitive information or services by the government, we should ensure their operability. And in terms of private companies, we understand that they work and they contribute to Ukrainian economy. One important thing that I forgot to mention is the awareness of threats that and of cyber operations conducted by the adversary. That's a wrong perception that the state-sponsored actors attack only governmental system. For instance, the ransomware attacks, which are obviously focused on businesses, are used for gaining ransoms and funding new operations. So it's a complex process, and when all of available actors are involved into the entire cyber operations against the democratic world. And it's very important to private business to participate, to share ISCs to the government agencies responsible for cybersecurity, to attentively consider all alerts, all information shared by these organizations, and also improved industrial cooperation. So we need to be united, and we'll definitely prevail.
Thank you, Victor. I hear the theme of cooperation, collaboration, private, public, international being the strongest theme I hear in your advice here. I think this is something we really need to improve at globally. If you allow me, Victor, I will just take 7 minutes because this is important to understand. To show a technical side of the evolution of the attacks between last year, and this is where we saw it initially in Ukraine. So I'll run through this to give you a few minutes to ask questions to Victor if you want. But yeah, well, basically for those who don't know Radware, we are a leader in DDoS. We are a leader in protecting applications, APIs, and yeah, basically bot management, cloud WAF, and so on. So this is what we do. I will not stop at this point. Yeah, this also is our complete portfolio, cloud-based application security, going from DDoS to bot management to supply chain attacks and so on. So this is what we do. This is where we come from. But I will not stop a lot at this one. If you want, we have a booth. You're welcome to visit. What I really want to highlight today, because it is really happening very strongly, is that the state-sponsored attacks, the no-named and Killnet and all the Hacktivist attacks are changing the face of DDoS attacks today, mainly because DDoS is a question of what are the infrastructure used to attack. It is a very important aspect in DDoS. You use what to send the attacks out. And this is the part that has changed because those guys are funded in a different way. The criminal DDoS attacks that ask for ransom had limited funds. When you are funded by states, you have almost unlimited funds. So they, since the beginning of this year, have been doing things that were previously not possible to do in the DDoS arena. Basically, when we talk about switching to the HTTPS and layer 7 attacks, this is because now they are using infrastructure, either crowdsourced infrastructure, so volunteers giving their own laptops and PCs for the attacks, or using cloud-based. So basically, this is the big shift. The infrastructure changed from IoT botnets to cloud-based services, cloud proxy and cloud machines, and this allows them to run different scripts using this new family of scripts, which are becoming very evasive, very randomized, and they are posing real challenges to the protections that we had at the beginning of the year. When you go at the infrastructure protection, the attacks are encrypted. Traditional, let's say, DDoS solutions were not built to see those HTTPS flood attacks and analyze them and be able to decide what is attack traffic and what is real traffic to sort them out. And when you go to solutions like Cloud WAF, which we are also selling, The attacks, because they're very well built, the scripts are very sophisticated, the fields in the requests are very, very randomized. They looked exactly like real requests, but they're coming now at, we have seen attacks that go to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million requests per second on a server that is built to do 10,000 or 20,000. And they're doing reconnaissance. So they actually try to load resources that are calling us an SQL server, database server in the back end. So it's very, very surgical in terms of the attacks, with much more power than they had before. It was a real problem. And this is why when we started facing that, mainly first in the Ukraine arena, and I can go back to a slide showing the frequency of these attacks. This type of attack, what we call at Radware, we call them web DDoS. They're very sophisticated HTTP level, so application level attacks. They increased 500% between the first half of 22 and the first half of 23. So parallel periods, first half of the year, 500% increase in those attacks, not only in Ukraine, everywhere. And the future of DDoS will be these attacks because they're more effective. The tools that are used have been uploaded to GitHub, so anyone can use them. Everyone knows how to do it now. So in addition to the pro-Russian affiliated groups, we're getting different groups who are defending religious motives, Anonymous Sudan, Mysterious Team Insane Pakistan. So other groups who are copying the same new tools and the same new infrastructure and getting funding as well, very strong, based on their motives. And it is a new world for DDoS. This is really strong, and we cannot say it fast enough. You saw the statistics. Let me go back to something again from the Ukraine service. You see this? This is just, it is a bit technical, but you will understand. The yellow ones are those type of attacks, the new ones that I'm mentioning, the application floods. And the blue ones are the old style DDoS attacks. And you see a sample here from just the summer on Ukraine. July, August, September. The frequency completely changed. What you see here is the number of requests per second, 42,000 requests per second. If it is surgical on a server that is built to do 10,000, the server is down. So there's real evolution because of the money injected on those types of groups, and because they're gaining maturity. So at Radware, we found ourselves obliged to invent something new in order to face something new. And it was done in a very accelerated way. This is what we call the web DDoS engine, and you may have seen it in the slides that Victor was presenting about using the new web DDoS module from Radware. This is what it is. What we did is we took what we used to do in the network layer, a technology capable of using very advanced algorithms. DDoS attack. A technology capable of doing very advanced algorithms to identify good traffic from bad traffic using a number of metrics. And we took that to the application layer and we applied the same logic, and it has been working effectively. But it is very recent, and unfortunately, this is the future. Every new attack coming from a hacktivist group will be one of these. So it's really a big jump in technology that we have witnessed in 23. And I would like to give back the 5 more minutes to Victor in case you want to ask any new questions. Just for you to keep in mind, what is this slide? The same attacks that we saw on the first slide on Ukraine, this is France. This is what's happening in France. These are the groups. So number 1 is No Name, Anonymous Sudan number 2, Passion Group. You see the same No Name and Passion botnet attacking Ukraine, and now they're attacking us. You see the frequency. So actually, it is the same situation, or it's a similar situation. So that's it in terms of the technology side of it. if you want, we have a booth. You can come see me after. But I would like the 5 remaining minutes. I would like to open for questions. If you'd like to ask anything to Victor, who is here with us, taking out of his schedule this very important hour. Yeah, question there.
Hello, Victor. Thank you very much for the feedback. I have a question specific. Did you spot specifically on one infrastructure when a kinetic attack that downgrades the service was followed by a specific cyber attack to finish the job and take down definitively the infrastructure, or the contrary, beginning by a cyber attack, downgrading to one facility that it's up, and this facility is taken down by a kinetic attack to finish the job, specifically on one power plant or one substation or something like that?
Well, thank you for this very important question. I'm not sure I can name the exact example of such particular focused targeted attack on one facility, but I can name plenty of kinetic attacks on organizations distributed on different territories. And one of the examples, and that was an official statement by this company, the largest private energy company, DTEC, which came out with the official statement in the end of June 2022, when they were facing the kinetic attack, the missile strike on their Kryvyi Rih thermal power plant, and simultaneous cyber attack on their corporate network. So this is just one of examples, and the confirmation that cyber attacks are correlated with kinetic. And we also published a report on this topic in the beginning of this year in January. So it doesn't mean that all these attacks are correlated, but when it happens, we can come to a conclusion that they are managed from the same center, and likely this center is in GRU, or General Unit of General Staff of Armed Forces of Russia. And a very important aspect was highlighted by Samek in terms of these groups and so-called hacktivists, volunteers that gathered in Telegram channels. They're improving their skills, they're improving their techniques, they use new tools, and this is done on a massive scale in terms of simple attacks or massive attacks to different organizations all around the globe, while their hackers in uniform are busy with the more sophisticated operations, disruptive operations, or hack and leak, or cyber espionage. I mean, those groups like Sandworm or APT28 are associated with GRU, or Gamareden, which is the most active group in Ukraine in the last half a year, which is associated with FSB. And in each of these Telegram channels, in each of these volunteer group, like No Name or Killnet or Cyber Army of Russia, there is a dedicated officer of those special services who's sharing targets, seeking for talents, helping them to grow and to improve. That means that potentially they're capable in scaling and involving new people to those groups, and unfortunately children. So that's what we are observing, and that means that Russia is ready to long-term aggression and maintaining of this frequency and density of cyber attacks against Ukraine and our partners and friends.
Thank you, Victor. Any other questions from the group? We have time for one, maybe two. No? Okay. So Thank you very much, Victor. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you very much for your attention, for having me today.
I hope the next time we'll be in person here when this is over.
I hope so, and I'll be looking forward to it. Thank you.
Very much. Thanks, everyone. Bye.